All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here today on this Thursday, July 6th, for our July edition of the Property Committee meeting. It looks like we do have a quorum this evening, although we are missing two members, Byrne and members Bloomfield. We do have Vice Chair Soldner, members Biles, and members Tompkins here. So let's go ahead and now that we've got the roll call taken care of, let's go on to our consent agenda. Item number 2, consent agenda does include, as a reminder, this is where we find our minutes as well as the recommended approval of our bills and transfers, which are totaling $376,565.61 for the month of June. Might I have, let's see, might I go ahead and have a motion to put this one on the floor? We've got a motion by member Biles. Might I have a second? Second by member Tompkins. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and vote on this one. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? And the consent agenda passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 3. Administrator Taylor, do we have any appearances by the public tonight?
We have had no requests to speak this evening.
Alrighty. Moving right along to number 4, that takes us to departmental matters. Starting off with 4A is where we get to meet Mr. Steffa, our Director of Parks and Recreation, who has no items to be presented for action this evening, but Mr. Steffa does have a fantastic monthly report. Mr. Steffa, what are the highlights that you'd like to share with us?
The only thing I really wanted to touch on was the opening of the new bait shop boat rental. We missed our July 4th date. We had some scheduling conflicts, but yesterday I set a drop dead date of a week from today. We're moving in no matter what. So other than that, I can share with everybody here, if you're not doing anything Saturday, we have an ice cream social out at the park. So we'd love to have you if you'd like to come. I'd be happy to answer any other questions if you have any.
We have a question by Vice Chair Soldner.
Are you able to buy boat stickers at the bait shop, or do you have to go up to the office for that?
You have to go to the Park Visitor Center, or you can use the self-registration drop boxes, and you tear off the top. Are you familiar with that? Okay.
Yeah, but I didn't know whether you were going to have it available there or not.
We haven't,
shop.
just because of a control system. We'd rather have them in one spot.
Right. Okay. Yep, that's all.
Additional comments or questions? Mr. Steffa, I was just curious if I could. How is the process and all working this year with the beach? I know in years past there have been some challenges, but this year we're off and running and still doing the swim at your own risk. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
great.
been running smooth, but I'll be honest, we haven't had a lot of people.
Okay.
So I've been trying to get the word out as much as I can. We do have a new Facebook page, so I've been promoting it pretty heavily on there.
Fantastic. What's the name of the Facebook page?
McLean County Parks at Kamlara Park, Evergreen Lake.
Here we go.
And it's on our website too. You can click on it the link straight from our website page.
Excellent. Thank you for that information. Hopefully anybody watching, I hear it's going to be a beautiful weekend, perhaps an ideal weekend to go check out the beach. Maybe go for a hike at Kamlara Park and get signed up for some camping and get some ice cream. Thank you very much, Mr. Steffa. Let's go ahead and then move on to 4B. This is where we have Director of Facilities Management, Mr. Gaither. Mr. Gaither, thank you for joining us here tonight. You do have one item to be presented for action. That's 4B1A, the request approval of an antenna lease agreement with New Wave Net Corporation. Might I go ahead and have a motion to put this one on the floor for discussion? We have a motion by Vice Chair Soldner. Might I have a second? A second from Member Tompkins. Mr. Gaither. Oh, let's go to Administrator Taylor.
Thank you, if I may. Joe, I'd like to just point out that we have a cleanup item on this contract on page 14. we would like to strike in, on page 14 in section 26 under agency, if you could please strike the last sentence in that section. That's a cleanup that did not make it out of the edit that went into your packet.
Thank you very much for that cleanup, Administrator Taylor. Mr. Gaither, do you have any information that you'd like for us to know before we go through and discuss? All right. Comments or questions on this item? I do have a couple questions with it. So it was indicated that the rent payment would be $315.53 a month, and that would be for the first 3 years, and then with an option to renew, in which case it would go up to $331.31. Pretty repetitive there. I was just curious, the amount of that 315 that it would begin at, is that an increase from where it's at previously, or is it the same amount that we're just renewing at?
It's a 5% increase, which is consistent with previous renewals.
Fantastic, thank you. And then I'm just curious as well, it says on page number 5, it says to continue the antenna installation. Is this going to be, is it just to continue on with the existing antenna and there's not any adjustment to the materials? Or along with this, is there going to be a change to what's actually sitting there at this time?
I believe it's the same, isn't it?
I don't think there's any plans for changes at this time, is my understanding. Is that your
That
understanding
was
as
my
well?
understanding.
I think this would provide for it if that came up in the future, but I don't think that's in the plans right now.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for clarification. Additional questions? If not, we can go ahead and put it to a vote. So all of those in favor of item 4B1A, request approval for the antenna lease agreement, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Mr. Gaither, on to your item to be presented for action, which is the monthly report. Might you have any highlights or updates for us?
Sorry, I turned it on and then turned it off. Sorry about that. There are a couple. We recently assisted it with the jail in running some communication wire and power for a body scanner. It was a big project that they had planned to increase the safety within. We buttoned that up last week, so that was a fun one to be involved. There's a couple pictures on the next page of the new scanner. And then another item that I was glad to get done, because I know it'll help, is with the health department's the mini split AC in the vial storage area. We finished that up as well. So.
Yeah, thank you very much for providing those photos. That was really helpful to be able to visualize and see. Any additional comments or questions on the director's monthly report? Yeah, Member Biles.
And I see the anticipated completion for the McLean County History Museum is July 10th. Are we still on track for that elevator?
That week, currently, we are. There may be a little bit, right now it looks like we should finish up that week.
That's exciting. Awesome.
Seeing no other comments or questions from Mr. Gaither, thank you very much for your report. We'll go ahead and move on to item C. We have no items to be presented at this time by Administrator Taylor, but you've got plenty to share as far as information goes.
Yes, I'd like to first start with C2A, the gas energy supply efforts. So it is that time of year for us to renew our contracts for our gas and our electric energy supply. And the process for this is a little unique from those that you've seen in other committee meetings, because it requires us to discuss it only as an information item today, because the way that market changes every 12-hour period, we wouldn't be able to approve today something that would be at the county board next Thursday. And so this contract requires stand-up the morning, or right before our evening meeting on next Thursday. And so what we would like to discuss today is that you have options for your gas energy supply. The proposals came in for the different firms. Julie passed out to you on the pages with, that have Vanguard up in the corner. So you would want to look at the one that says natural gas pricing. And so the discussion that I'd like to have with you today is our recommendations from administration is to base this on Constellation's offer. As you can say, Constellation is in the first column where it says CNE. And if you look, there is three different responses to the RFP. There are the zero swing, where you can do a basis plus NYMEX, or fully fixed, or 100% swing with the basis plus NYMEX and fully fixed. We are recommending the fully fixed pricing. That reduces the risk to the county for any variance that may happen in the market, because this would be a 40-month term. And so our anticipation is by looking in, if we went with the 0.4161 Constellation offer for fully fixed, we are looking at an 8%, approximately 8% decrease in our pricing that for the current contract that we are in, and we feel that that is the best option for the county. But this is the time for us to discuss this. Then when we come back to stand up next Thursday, we will again have another set of pricing for you, and then we are able to lock in at that rate for next Thursday. So these prices may be a little different, but we're expecting that the spread will be similar. That's what has happened in past years. And so assuming that our fully fixed CNA pricing is still the lowest offerage, that would be our recommendation of what we go with. So this is your opportunity to ask any questions.
Yeah, we have a question from Member Biles.
I see this is confidential information. Are they, the competitors that submitted the RFPs, given the opportunity to compete on, or is this just kind of set by the market and it is what it is?
So these CNA or CNE, I've worked with a nursing home too much. CNE, Direct, and Vanguard have all given their confidential responses to our RFP. And so these are their proposals. And so why it is confidential is we don't want to release that information on all of their information, because we're going to vote on it next Thursday.
Okay.
Any questions about the process? So just to explain a little bit further, so next Thursday, we'll have a stand-up meeting, and then we will make that final recommendation to the full board. At the full board meeting, the action item will actually be to allow Chairman McIntyre to look at the proposals the next morning and lock into the rate that we receive then on that Friday morning following the board meeting. With our meeting being held at 5:30 at night, they don't offer any rates after 5 p.m. And so the quickest rating that we would receive would be the following morning, and so he will lock in the following morning.
Okay, so what we'll be voting on then on Thursday theoretically would not be the actual price. It would be locking in with that business.
With that business.
Got it. All right.
And so at that point, you would have received two different spreads of the different proposals, and then we'd be locking in the next morning. So
Would you then be perhaps reporting out what the price is that we were locked into
yes.
on Friday? Is that something that would be emailed out, or is that something that we would find information on when we reconvene in August?
I would say that it would probably be easiest for me to email you that information.
Great, thank you very much. Additional questions on the gas energy piece? Okay.
If there are no further questions, I'll move on to the electric. So the electric is a little bit different. So the electric market has been very volatile. We still did receive some different options for that. We had 4 different proposals that came in. And then the biggest question for this group, in addition to which vendor you would like to pick, is would you like standard pricing or green pricing with this electric contract? So fully bundled pricing is listed there. You'll see that we have 4 different suppliers that submitted a proposal. All 4 did present standard pricing as well as green pricing, and then we had 1 who included the emissions-free, which was the nuclear energy. And so either way, we are going to have an increase from our current contract. If you see in the yellow line at the bottom, you would see what our current supplier is, as well as the increase from our current contract. So we utilize about 1.2 million in electric costs across all of our facilities and needs in an annual basis. And so standard pricing is about 9.8% of an increase, and the green pricing is a 13% increase over what we are paying this year. And so looking at the raw numbers, you can see that we are able to probably absorb that in the budget. It's just a matter of the direction of this committee on what the preference is. I can tell you in the previous year, we did use green energy last year for the first time. Well, last contract cycle was green energy for the first time.
Do we have any comments or questions on the electric pricing analysis? Yeah, Vice Chair Sullivan.
So I wasn't on this committee last year when they made the decision to go with the green pricing, and I was just curious what the rationale was behind that. I mean, I realize $38,000 in, when you're talking millions of dollars or whatever, isn't a lot, but I was just curious what the rationale was behind that. Is there anybody here that was on that committee?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
So it was not unanimous, but I believe that the prevailing vote was in support of renewable energy, and the green energy is supportive of wind energy and solar energy, and so I believe that was the rationale.
And could you tell any difference? I mean, as far as with using green, there's no power outages or anything like that. That's all absorbed in the system somewhere, I would assume.
Yeah, so for like this downtown space, you're still using Ameren lines, you're still using,
Right.
it's still the same process.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, I think one of the discussion pieces that we had when this came to full board last year was the consideration that as McLean County, we have more green energy that's being produced and coming out of our county than anywhere else in the state, and than many other places in the Midwest. We are essentially a green leader as McLean County. And I think the sentiment to go with green energy was to go in support of a lot of the work and a lot of the revenue that is coming out of and coming back into to support our county. So with the mentality of, as a county, in making that purchase with green energy, we're going through and really trying to bolster the work and the efforts that have been done to make our county what it is and to show support for those organizations and those businesses that have come in and have generated tax dollars and continue to do so. Yeah, Member Biles.
Is there any direct link that we can tie the green energy that is being produced in McLean County to, like, essentially our use of green energy in this case?
No. So as you can see there, the pricing that came in per kilowatt, the standard pricing came in within a few pennies of each other, as well as the green pricing. The highlighted yellow would be the supplier that we would recommend going with. The big question is just which plan?
Looks like we have a question from Member Tompkins.
Yes, I'm totally in support of green energy. I would like to know what safeguards or accountability safeguards are in place to make sure when we flip that switch, we're actually getting green energy and not just getting sold.
That is a wonderful question, and I believe, I hope I have the answers here. Do you have that on your email? Yeah, I know that Vanguard did respond to that to say that there are certain qualifications that they have to meet to make it green energy, and so that's what I'm looking for is what those qualifications are. I believe it was listed in the RFP.
And looking at the documentation that Vanguard had sent over to us, the companies that are producing this are receiving renewable energy certificates that require them to meet certain standards in order for them to be considered green energy. Once the energy is produced, it goes into the grid, and then, as I think was discussed a little bit before, determining which is from where, it all blends together at that point. But the companies that are actually producing it would have to have renewable energy certificates in order to qualify, and then there's a process they need to go through to get those certificates.
But we're not responsible for tracking that, thankfully.
Is there any additional information that Vanguard has shared about the energy certificates and what all goes into that could be shared with the committee ahead of the decision, just to learn a little bit more about some of those safeguards?
That was not provided to us in that detail, but we could request that. Since we have a week before you're making your final determination, we could certainly ask for the criteria that go into the renewable energy credits.
Great. I think that would be really helpful, especially to kind of broaden the conversation a little bit. Very good. Thank you.
I have one other thing.
Absolutely.
So on page 25, on this top of the page, it says account information. On the right side, current contract end date, those are all 2013. Is that a Scribner's error, or is that?
Which page is here? Oh, okay. So our contract for our electric, I think that is a
Just a
error. I think that meant to
one
say
instead of a two?
2023,
Okay.
yes.
It didn't make sense otherwise, because
Yes.
I wouldn't have thought the current contract
Yes,
would
because
be-
the start date for the electric is December 2023 and goes through December of 2026
Okay.
for a 3-year term.
No problem.
Fabulous catch, Vice Chair Zollner. Additional comments or questions about the electric pricing summary? All right. Yeah, Member Biles.
I mean, potentially we'll have all committee members in attendance for the stand-up next week. What happens if there isn't an agreement reached at that time when we vote?
So I believe that if we do not have a consensus or a recommendation, it would still go to full board, but without a recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And then other business that you might have to share, Administrator Taylor.
Thank you. Moving on to 2C, Other. We will be presenting at the Executive Committee on Monday the results of an RFP for brickwork for tuck pointing at the nursing home. We will be utilizing ARPA funding for this project, which is why it would be starting with Executive Committee. This was budgeted and approved in the FY23 budget. And is a project that has been deferred many years. So we were able to realize that with the additional funding that has been made available. For our spatial study, we did receive a draft this week. It was hundreds of pages. And so we will be reviewing that and we will be prepared to speak on that in August after we kind of absorb what is included in that and share it with our partners at the City of Bloomington. For the energy audit, that too was received. We received all 4 of the reports, not at the same time. They came in a little at a time. The last one for the Law and Justice Center was just received this week. So we have one for each of the buildings that was included in the energy audit. So one for 200 West Front Street, one for the Government Center, one for the Law and Justice Center, and one for the nursing home. We will be reviewing those as well, and we'll be prepared to present in August. From preliminary looks at those reports, some of the upgrades that we think we'll be able to realize in the next 1 to 2 years would be the upgrades to our lighting, either with LED lighting replacement, which has already been begun with our facilities crew, as well as light controls, the automatic light controls, and looking at our building automation system upgrades, which again have also already been started. So some of the things that we saw just very quickly looking through the audit were things that we anticipated seeing, but there are some other ideas in there as well. So we will look through that thoroughly and be prepared to review with you next month. And then the last thing I'd like to bring up would be the broadband. There's been a lot of information in the news, but we also have some information to share with you. The state received a little over $1 billion, and that's a B, billion, for the BEAD, Rural Broadband Funding Program. So BEAD is an acronym for Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment. And we will continue to work with our Accelerate Access McLean County group to review and interview providers to make determination on the best plan for us in McLean County to move forward. In many of the circumstances, a hybrid model using wireless as well as fiber networks might be the right choice for our rural communities, as well as some remote locations like in the middle of a field, perhaps. So we are still studying that and will be hopeful to be included in that funding, the BEAD funding. Additionally, they're just released a NOFO for DEC funding. DEC stands for Digital Equity Capacity Kickstarter Grant Program. And so that is a program where the state received $1 million to release awards between $30,000 and $300,000 for DEC funding. And there are 4 different categories that you can apply for. We will be looking to apply for funding in the category of access expansion feasibility, meaning we'll look to do a feasibility study. That seems to be the natural next step to our Accelerate Access McLean County group. And The feasibility study will consider partnerships, future grant funding through BEAD or other sources, and then also connectivity options that will be best suited for McLean County. We've had several interviews. Most recently, we had a very good discussion with our local co-op that serves a lot of the rural communities in McLean County, and we think that DEC funding might be available for us to do the feasibility study and then complement future grant awards. So that's my updates. Lots of projects.
Certainly a lot of projects. Thank you very much for the work that you and the team have been doing on these projects. Mr. Grant, I know you have been working hard with the broadband pieces as well as some of the energy pieces. Thank you very much for everything, all the minds coming together. It's exciting to have so many things to be presented, at least for information right now, and we're going to get to hear even more next month as we get the spatial study information and more details on the energy piece. With that timing, would it be appropriate to say that we can anticipate seeing some of those things in our budget for 2024 as we anticipate that one?
We will be working with Joe on that, and I think the answer to that would probably be yes.
Excellent. What comments or questions might you all have on the slew of exciting things happening in the property front? All right. Looks like everybody's ready for ice cream this weekend. That means we are on to other business and communications. Our next meeting is August 10th, 2023 at 5 p.m. Look forward to seeing everybody at our general meeting on Thursday. And that will do it. Have a fabulous rest of your day. Thank you for your service.